There's a method called SQ3R that can completely change the way you read and understand anything, especially research papers. SQ3R stands for Survey, Question, Read, Recite, and Review. For a long time, this method has been used manually. You'd apply it to books, papers, or long texts by yourself, step by step, with a pen, a notebook, and a lot of time. And to be fair, it works. But it's also slow, and when you're dealing with dense academic material, that process can feel exhausting. In this video, I want to take that method to the next level. I'm going to show you what happens when you combine SQ3R with AI. Because once you do that, reading stops feeling overwhelming and understanding becomes much faster and much deeper. You're not just skimming text anymore, you're actually absorbing it. Today, I'll be using Anara. Anara is an AI research tool built specifically for students, scientists, academics, and researchers. It helps you understand papers, books, and even recorded audio incredibly quickly. It also helps you take better notes, write clearly, cite properly, and keep everything organized in one place instead of scattered across folders and apps. On top of that, Anara comes with tools that help you find citations, edit your work, improve clarity, and make your writing sound more academically solid without losing your own voice. When you combine a proven reading method like SQ3R with a tool like this, the way you learn changes completely. And that's exactly what I want to walk you through in this video. So let's start with the very first step, and that is the S in SQ3R, which stands for survey. This step is all about getting a quick, high-level understanding before you dive deep into the details. Instead of reading every line, you skim the paper. You look at the title, the section headings, the subheadings, and any summaries that stand out. The goal here is not to understand everything yet. The goal is to understand the structure of what you're about to read and get a sense of the main topics just from how the paper is laid out. When you do this properly, your brain starts to build a mental map of the paper. You begin to see what the story is, how the ideas flow, and what the author is trying to show you overall. Now, you might be wondering how we can do this step more efficiently with AI, especially when the paper is long and complex. So let's open the paper I'm working on today. It's about the driving force of musculoskeletal diseases, and it's over 10 pages long. I don't want to read everything yet. I just want a quick overview. The first thing I do is scan all the headings and subheadings. Right away, I can see that the paper is broken into several clear sections, each focusing on a different part of the topic. These headings already tell me the story I'm about to walk through when I start reading in detail. I also noticed that there's a solid reference list at the end, which tells me this paper is well supported by previous research. Then I look at the figures. These visuals are there to support the main arguments in the text. By surveying the paper like this, I now know that there are 6 main sections and 3 figures that support the core ideas. That preparation alone makes reading much easier. At this point, I use the AI tool and ask a simple question about the key features I should notice at first glance. The answer highlights important themes, context, and research details that I might have missed during a quick skim. This step isn't about deep analysis. It's about setting yourself up to read smarter, with clarity and direction, right from the start. Step 2 is all about asking the right questions, and this is where reading starts to become active instead of passive. The idea is simple, but extremely powerful. Instead of just reading headings and moving on, you turn each heading into a question. Doing this immediately gives your brain a clear target. You are no longer reading just to get through the text. You are reading to find answers. This sets a clear purpose for every page and keeps your attention exactly where it needs to be. As you read, your mind naturally starts asking things like why this matters, what it really means, where the information comes from, and what the impact might be. That constant questioning is what keeps you focused and engaged. Now let me show you how this works with AI. In this example, I take a heading called Bone Senescence in Osteoporosis and turn it directly into a question. I ask Anara what the causes and effects are and request a short summary for quick understanding. What's important here is that I'm not asking a random AI to guess. I'm asking a focused question about the title, and the answer I get is pulled only from the paper itself. You'll notice small circular numbers next to each claim. These are reference points that show exactly where the information came from in the text. That transparency matters because it means you can trust what you're seeing and verify it instantly. Another powerful feature is the ability to highlight specific text and chat only with that section. If you don't highlight anything, Anara looks at the entire document. But when you select a specific paragraph, you can ask very targeted questions. For example, I highlight one section and ask for the key takeaways from that section alone. Anara then summarizes it clearly, in this case, in about 120 words. You can control this completely. You can ask for fewer words, more detail, or even unlimited length, depending on what you need in that moment. To really strengthen memory and recall, I also bring active learning into the process. One of the best ways to do this is by creating flashcards. Instead of manually reading everything, writing questions, and drafting answers, I simply ask Anara to generate flashcards that summarize the paper. It creates clear questions, accurate answers, and short explanations for each one. This turns reading into a quick question and answer system that tests your understanding and helps the information stick much longer. The third part of the SQ3R method is read, and this is where most people make a big mistake. Instead of reading passively, you want to read with intention. The goal here is to actively look for answers to specific questions, not just move your eyes across the page. This completely changes how focused your reading becomes, because your attention is now directed toward the most important information in the paper. To do this, I start by asking Anara to generate 5 key questions that I should know the answers to for this research paper. Once I have those questions, my reading turns into a form of self-testing. As I go through the paper, I'm constantly asking myself whether I've found the answer yet. This makes the reading process more engaging and helps the information stick. If I'm unsure where an answer is, I can ask Anara how to find it inside the paper, which keeps me moving instead of getting stuck. And when something doesn't make sense, I don't lose momentum. I can simply ask a direct question. For example, if I don't fully understand a specific process, Anara gives me a clear explanation based only on the text I provided. If a technical term like osteoarthritis is confusing, it explains it in simple language using the paper itself. This creates a smooth, productive flow where you're actively memorizing, learning, and understanding as you read, instead of feeling lost or overwhelmed. The next step in the SQ3R method is recitation, and this is where real understanding starts to form. In the recite stage, you actively summarize what you have just read, either by saying it out loud or by writing it down in your own words. The goal here is not to sound smart, but to make sure the ideas truly make sense to you. When you try to explain something simply, you quickly notice where your understanding is weak or incomplete, and that awareness is incredibly valuable. Using Anara makes this process much easier and more effective. Inside Anara, there is a dedicated notes panel where you can take notes as you read, ask AI questions, and slowly build your understanding step by step. For example, when I came across the term osteoarthritis and realized I didn't fully understand it, I asked Anara directly. Once I got a clear explanation, I wrote it down in my own words and kept returning to it over time. That act of writing and revisiting the note helped the concept stick. You can continue pulling out key ideas from what you read, what you ask, and what you understand, and store everything in one place that you can always come back to later. Another powerful feature is the ability to group related papers together. In my case, I grouped several papers into an introduction section and asked questions across all of them at once. This pushes your thinking beyond a single paper and forces you to compare ideas, spot patterns, and think critically. That kind of broader perspective is at the core of real academic thinking. And the last R in this process is review. And this step is far more important than most people realize. In the review stage, you want to regularly go back over your notes and the key points you've already captured, because this is what helps move information from short-term understanding into long-term memory. What I personally do at this stage is use AI to support that review process instead of repeating everything manually. After I've finished reading the paper fully, asked my questions, explored the details, and created summaries, I'll ask something simple like, summarize the key points of this paper. This is not something you do at the beginning or in the middle. It works best at the end when you already understand the material and want a clear, high-level overview to reinforce everything you've learned. That final review helps connect ideas and solidify the bigger picture. One more really useful feature that Anara has recently released is the ability to control where your answers come from. You can ask a question and choose whether the response should be based on your own library or from general knowledge. When you use your library, Anara pulls information directly from your saved papers, notes, and summaries. This brings everything together in one place and allows you to ask questions across your entire research collection, which makes reviewing, consolidating, and interrogating your knowledge much easier and more effective. I really hope this video helped you, because one of the questions I get more than anything else is this: how do I actually organize my research papers in a way that makes sense? How do I take all this information I've collected over months or even years and store it so I can actually find it later when I really need it? Most people don't struggle with finding papers anymore. They struggle with managing the chaos that comes after. Hundreds of PDFs, half-remembered ideas, important insights buried somewhere you can't quite recall. That's exhausting, and it slows your thinking down more than it should. What you've seen in this video is a real step forward in how research can be handled today. This is what it looks like when AI is used the right way, not to replace your thinking, but to support it. Tools like Anara don't do the work for you, but they remove the friction. They help you organize faster, retrieve information more easily, and spend your energy on understanding, connecting ideas, and actually doing meaningful work instead of drowning in admin tasks. If this is something you want to try for yourself, I've left a link below so you can check out Anara and see how it fits into your own research workflow. And if you found this video useful, I really recommend watching another video on the channel where I go deeper into reading papers faster and actually understanding what you read, not just skimming it. That's where everything really clicks together. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I genuinely hope this helps make your research life a little lighter and a lot more focused. I'll see you in the next video.